Hi everyone and welcome to today's assembly. If you have a candle then in your classroom, if you would like to light that now. If you don't have one, we're just going to sit quietly for a minute and give thanks for us all being here together. So today I wanted to have a look at something that Jesus once told his disciples. He turned round to them and said, "A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you." Another thing that he said, that we should love our neighbours as ourselves. So I want to spend a little bit of time sort of looking into that. How often do we do things because it's what we want to do, regardless of how others feel? How often do we feel that the whole world should revolve around us? It's very easy to think of us as being the only important person. For instance, when we're trying to get somewhere on time and we're caught behind a traffic jam, or there's a queue in the shop, or there's a ride that we want to go on a theme park and we're right down the end of the line. It makes us feel that, in all honesty, we should be the only people that matter and we should be nearer the front or right at the front. But maybe Jesus wants us to look at things and the world in a different way. During this past year, I have been amazed about how many people have put others before themselves. Those who help their neighbours get food. I know I benefit from that when I was shielding, and people would drop goods and shopping up to us because I was unable to leave the house. Businesses that changed what they did to help support the local community. People who phoned a friend to make sure that they were okay. Those who put signs in the windows and clapped for the key workers who put others before their own needs, whether that was people on the NHS, whether it was your teachers, whether it was people who did the shops and carried on hauling trucks all over the place so that we could have our food. But they put others before their own needs. Maybe it's just those who quietly prayed for those around them because they didn't feel that they could do anything else. But even those prayers were important. This is the kind of world that Jesus wants us to be part of. He wanted us to love our neighbours as ourselves. He wants us to treat one another as we would want them to treat us. Let's look at it this way. If you bring your packed lunch in and somebody asks to share it because they've forgotten theirs, do you say yes or do you say no? Do you love yourself more because you might feel hungry later and it doesn't really matter, it was their fault that they didn't bring their lunch in? If you say yes, do you give them the food that you don't particularly like? Maybe you've got a jam sandwich and a Marmite sandwich and you really like jam, but you don't particularly like Marmite. So they can have the Marmite and you'll keep the jam. Or do you give away the one that you want? Do you give away the jam sandwich and have the Marmite? It's one of those of thinking of the other person before you think of yourself. You find out which they prefer. They might like exactly the same one as you, but you give them the one that is your favourite. This is what Jesus is talking about. It's thinking and giving without thinking about yourselves. I'm going to give you and show you a Bible story now that we have seen before, but it really fits well into what we are trying to say. So let's sit back and enjoy.
I wanted to look at one of the most amazing things that Jesus did. So many people liked to hear what Jesus had to say, which meant that lots of people gathered wherever he went. Well, one day, thousands of people had turned up to listen, and Jesus spent a long time preaching. As the day drew on, the disciples reminded Jesus that it was getting late, No one had had anything to eat, so maybe people needed to return home. But Jesus told them, "Feed the crowds." The disciples told him that they didn't have enough food or money to feed everybody. Just then a small boy came to them and said, "I have 5 small loaves of bread and 2 small fish. I don't know how many people it would feed, but you could have it." Jesus smiled at him and said to the disciples, "Ask everybody to sit down." Soon everybody was seated, and Jesus took the loaves of bread and the fish and gave thanks to God for it. Then the disciples gave out the food that everybody could take as much as they wanted. Everyone ate till they were full, and then Jesus told the disciples to collect up what was left over in the baskets. There were 12 full baskets of food left over. The crowds realized that Jesus was a very special person indeed. Thanks to the little boy and the small lunch, Jesus was able to perform this miracle. So next time you think you're so not important, just remember that God thinks you're amazing.
So, when the boy gave Jesus his food, he didn't do so that people would think he was a great person and what kind of person he was. He knew it wouldn't be enough to feed everybody. In fact, he probably knew it would only be enough to feed 1 or 2. But that didn't stop him giving it. To be honest, most people would have probably looked at it and thought he was being really silly. But he still gave everything he had to Jesus. And Jesus took those small gifts that were given out of love and turned it into something amazing. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called paying it forward. It's when one person does something nice or good for somebody else to help them, but rather than wanting rewards or a pat on the back or even to be paid back, they just ask that person to do something for somebody else who needs help. And sometimes it's not even just being generous with our things, but also with our time. When someone is sad, do we look the other way or do we try and find out how we can help them? Jamie the other day was really sad. I sat with her and asked her what was wrong and she didn't know. All she knew is that she could cry and she didn't know why. So I just sat with her and we hugged and she had a really good cry. And actually she felt better. I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. I didn't able to answer any questions or anything else. But I just sat with her until the feeling passed. She knew that I was there by her side, holding her until she felt okay to carry on. Sometimes that's all it takes. You don't need to know all the answers for that person, but that person just needs to know that you love and care for them, and that's what really matters to them. They matter to you. What kind of world would we live in if everybody did that? The whole world revolving around love and not hate or greed or power. That's the kind of world that Jesus wants for all of us. Now, we might think we can't change the world, but we could change somebody else's life just by loving them as we love ourselves. And every time we do that for one person and that gets paid forward, the world will slowly change. So maybe we need to think like Jesus thinks. Not think about how much money we could make or we could be in charge of this or in charge of that. You know, I'm better than you because. But maybe we need to be humble and we need to love others and give them a chance to shine and to see our love. And bit by bit, person by person, we could change the way the world sees itself. Do everything out of love, not out of power or greed or hate. I'm going to finish with a song and a prayer in one. It's one we have used before, but this speaks so much into what we have been talking about. And I would like you to think of it in two ways. The first, that you're the one replying to someone who needs your love, who needs your support, who is really struggling. But then I also want you to think that you are that person that needs that help and that Jesus is the one replying to you. So, let us pray.
You say, what if I go crazy? You say that ain't gonna happen. You say, what if I get lost? I say, you'll just find your way back. And you say, what if someone breaks my heart? I'll put it back together like I do. You say, what if I don't catch the dreams that I've been out there chasing? What if when my fears show up, I'm too afraid to face them? Well, I can't fight your battles, but I sure can hold your hand and promise you that the sky will still be up there and the sun will always shine. The stars will keep on falling for the ones who wish at night. The mountains won't start moving and the rivers won't run dry. The world will always be there, and so will I. You say, what if things start changing? I say we'll be changing with them. We'll just sing a different melody and dance to different rhythms. You say, what if I give up? I say that's one thing that I'll never let you do. You say, what if someone leaves me and they leave me empty-handed? I say losing only teaches you to not take things for granted. No, I can't just bring them back, but darling, I can hold your hand and promise you that the sky will still be up there and the sun will always shine. The stars will keep on falling for the ones who wish at night. The mountains won't start moving and the rivers won't run dry. The world will always be there, and so will I. Even if the sky is falling and the sun don't wanna shine, if the stars we used to wish on disappear into the night, well, I can move a mountain, but only by your side. Just say you'll always be there. I know you'll always be there, and so will I.
So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you again next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.